I don't think I've had so many vet bills and farrier visits in my entire life, but we've made it through, and I'm gonna give you guys a whole freaking timeline of everything that's happened in the last year. And if you're new here, hello, welcome. My name is Shay, and on this channel I talk about my two horses, Sage, my paint mare, and Penny, my Mustang mare, and I make a little bit of horsey educational content. So to get started, I'm actually gonna skip January and February because I genuinely don't totally remembered everything that happened. I know my kid's birthday happened, but that's about it. I genuinely don't remember everything else that happened in January and February of this year. So we're gonna skip those and move into March. March was the beginning of Penny's issues. And for those of you that haven't seen it, I will link the video of her update video. Some of that stuff has changed a little bit just in our course of action and plans that we've taken since then, but it can give you a good starting point of everything that happened. In March was her first kind of colicky episode. Ended up just being ulcers, but it's this kind of start to a whole chaotic mess for this whole year. Another thing that happened in March is just prior to this, Penny and I actually did our first positive reinforcement show. This was a virtual show put on by Marina over at Gypsy Equestrian, also known as Positive Horse Training. And to be honest, like a virtual show, I don't know if that was more stressful for me than an open regular show because I had to just wait for the results and it was stressing me out. But this was such a great learning experience as far as figuring out how these virtual shows work, and also giving Penny and I to work more on our positive reinforcement training. Moving on to April, one of the funnest parts about April was going to a military ball with my husband where he received a couple of awards for the good work that he's doing. I am so proud of him, and this was such a fun little trip where we got to have a little bit of downtime away from our kiddo. As much as we love him, he's 2, so he can be a lot. The other big positive for me, another positive for me was making my first batch of macarons. And it's the first time I ever did it, and I still got a foot on the cookie, which was a little bit of a shock to me, but I did it. Since then, I've made a few more batches. I'm about 50-50 on whether or not the batch will be successful. Now, this is the month that my issues started. So not only were we having issues with animals this year, I personally had some health issues going on. Now, this could be a little TMI for some people, so I guess I'll just put a timestamp in if you want to skip this part. Basically, gist of it, I started having some pretty severe cramping when it came to my cycle. This was when the cramping in my cycle first started happening. It would happen about a week prior to my cycle actually starting, which is not ideal. I'll get into more of it later, a little bit more of the details as to what was happening, but it was starting to get to a point where I couldn't function while these cramps were happening. I would have to stop what I was doing and just focus on not feeling in pain. Come May, the biggest thing that happened, I don't really know what else happened otherwise, my husband and my kiddo were in a car accident. I remember standing at Grange Co-op, our local little ag store, and getting a call from my husband saying,
"Hey, we were just in a car accident."
Me panicking and running out of my store that I'm in all the time thinking, oh God, they're gonna think I'm stealing something. So they weren't that far from me. I drove down the road and pulled up. I was in the truck. They were in the Nissan Altima. Pulled up pretty much right behind them, and luckily it was just the trunk of our car that had got kind of smushed. It was a 3-car total problem. I think everyone was okay getting out of it. My husband and kid were okay. No one had to go to the doctor. I don't think anyone else in the accident had to go to the doctor. So luckily everyone was okay. Our car was totaled, so wasn't totally expecting it. We were almost a little bit hopeful because we had talked about downsizing a vehicle. We don't really need to right now anyway. So we were talking about getting rid of this Altima, especially with all the transmission issues it was starting to have, which if you know anything about 2016, 2017 Nissan Altimas, you know the transmissions suck. I highly do not recommend getting a 16, 17 Nissan Altima. I don't know if it's changed since then, but we were having transmission issues before we even hit 50,000 miles. That being said, the car was totaled because the top part actually just started to bend in the frame. And because of that, they would have had to replace pretty much the whole frame. and it just wasn't worth it with the value of the car. It was one of those things that we just kind of took it to be a blessing in disguise, and we're just not gonna have a second vehicle. Now in June, I don't remember the exact date of the vet appointment that we did x-rays on Penny's hind feet. That is in the update video, and again, if you guys wanna go check that out, it'll give you a little more information. But June is when we started putting side bone shoes on Penny, and I kid you not, we had to do new shoes every week or two. She was not keeping them on. One thing when I first started training Penny was I taught her how to stop very, very, very well. She knows whoa on a dime. She's on it. However, that means she slides out of her shoes all the freaking time. So as much as I would love for side bone to just not be a problem for her with shoes on, we've had to do a lot of adjusting with handmade shoes, which is also a whole other thing. My farrier was hand making her shoes and then having to also make clips off of those to keep the shoe tight to her foot so that when she stopped, she would have a piece of metal keeping the shoe from sliding off. Thank God for a good farrier who was out all the time. I will rely on him for everything at this point because he just was a lifesaver when it came to needing him out there every couple weeks for Penny to get another shoe put back on. Now, also in June, we got to take a really, really fun trip to Gatlinburg, Tennessee. My husband has 7 siblings, so it is a whole fiasco when we get everyone together. It is so fun to have all the direct family, all the in-laws, all the grandkids running around. We had a whole unit that we had set up in this resort. And luckily, Lexington, Kentucky is not too far from Gatlinburg, Tennessee. I think it was about a 3 to 4 hour drive. And my friend, who I haven't seen in years, lives in Lexington, Kentucky. And so I decided to go visit her. And when I went, she was like, let's go hang out at the Kentucky Horse Park. And I thought, okay, a bunch of arenas, maybe a horse show, that would be fun. Cool, I guess we could go. No, it's a whole zoo for horse people. So it was super fun. I also have another video about that covering the whole place because it was just so fun. I will 100% go back as soon as I can. And I would love to be able to take my kid because I even think he would have an absolute kick out of seeing all the ponies. July was honestly probably the funnest month of the whole year, partially because I turned 30. It was definitely something because I'm pretty sure the second I turned 30, my body just went,
Ha! Screw you.
But the rest of the month was super fun. I went on a trip with my husband to Vegas to go see the first ever Mustang Challenge put on by Mustang Champions. It was such an amazing experience to see some of these trainers who are top-notch trainers and watch these horses that have had more time training than a typical Mustang makeover or tip challenge horse. I have definitely videos about that too, so I'll link them somewhere. I know that I've got a ton of videos to link throughout the whole year, so if you guys want to check them out, please go do. Another thing that we did that I was so excited about had nothing to do with horses. I saw my first ever Cirque du Soleil show in person. My parents got to see Cirque du Soleil shows when I was younger, and I never got the opportunity to go. And they brought home a DVD that my sister and I used to watch all the time. Cirque du Soleil, I don't remember what the name of it was. Oh, it was La Nuba. All in all, they are such a fun experience, but being on the DVD, you obviously don't get the in the moment feel of it. So my husband and I got to go see Bad Apple, which, if you don't like crass humor, that is not the show for you. I thought it was so funny. My husband and I were dying almost the whole time. Absolutely incredible acts. It was so fun. And that was such a cool experience. I also got to meet Britta from Project Equestrian at this Mustang Challenge, and she is just one of the nicest people you're ever gonna meet. I absolutely adore her. It was so fun to be able to just hang out and watch ponies and be able to talk to someone that really is also heavily involved in this part of the industry. The Mustang world has so many tight-knit people, so to be able to meet someone and make a friend that's in that environment, it was so nice to make that connection. Moving on to August, as much as this might be another kind of tiny positive like my macarons, I had my first ever Hoya flower. It's one of my indoor plants, and I got it from a dear friend of mine, and it bloomed for the first time ever, and I just was so excited about it. The flowers are so cool. One of the reasons why I think I will always have Hoyas, because I think they're just the coolest flowers. They look like little shooting stars. They're so cool. Another thing that happened in August, which was not ideal, another problem with Penny, she had proud flesh starting. So she got this wound on the inside of her right front that I don't really know where it started. It just kind of came up, and then don't know how. There was no issues with fencing. I don't know. But the proud flesh continued to just grow and grow and grow. And that's basically what proud flesh is. It's just an overgrowth of healing. The body's continuing to send healing to this wound, and it's just producing a ton of extra flesh. Needless to say, I started wrapping it, I put medication on, and just nothing was making it go away. I could not get it to stop. In August, I finally scheduled a doctor's appointment for myself, which is very hard for me to do. I finally scheduled an appointment, took the time to go in and start talking to my doctor, did a few tests, and come to find out I have adenomyosis. Some of you may know what endometriosis is. Adenomyosis is kind of a cousin to endo. Endo is where the endometrium is basically growing outside of the uterus, so you can have it on your intestines, in your abdomen, in all sorts of places. Adenomyosis is an overgrowth of that endometrium, but instead of shedding all of it like a normal cycle, it starts to embed into that uterine muscle. So as you can imagine, it can be incredibly painful. One way that they have diagnosed this is that you look at the normal, the normal thickness of the endometrium is typically, I think, between like 2 to 4, I think. And mine was somewhere around 6, which is not normal. And at this point, the pain had now gotten to levels where I didn't feel like I could get out of bed. On the weekends, I was pretty much on the couch 24/7. I had a heating pad on. I would start getting these hot flashes. It was absolutely miserable. And I'm very grateful to have a husband that was there to help take care of our child, because I was down for the count. I could not function. We'll get into a little bit more of the game plan later, but that was when I at least received the diagnosis for adenomyosis. Now, very tail end of August, moving into September, I went to Teens in Oregon Mustang Challenge. This is the first time that I've gone to the show, and it's a little bit different than the other tip challenges that I've been a part of or the other Mustang makeovers that I've watched. They do have an auction at the end of it, so I got to watch 3 record-breaking sales. The first was a in-hand horse that went for $6,000 something, I think. There was also a riding horse that originally broke the record for $34,000, and then the second one came in and took it for $36,000. So 3 record-breaking sales in one day, which is just bonkers. Overall, I think they're just a fantastic program, and I really would love to be involved with them in the future. I think that they do such a great job for the Mustang community and really encourage education among Mustang owners, not just, hey, let's put on a show and sell some horses. I also started teaching Penny in September some things to start prepping for riding. So we did a lot of yielding, a lot of getting her to understand what different aspects of pressure on her face means, and also some new fun tricks. I taught her to pick up the flag, which she does very enthusiastically. She's pretty good at it. We also took a short trip to the coast. I know that once we move to another state and we're not right off the coast, I'm gonna feel like I should have gone to the beach more often. So we went to the beach and just had a little bit of a break. I got these super cool bones that I ended up taking home, and they're sitting on my desk right now. But they're super cool. I just found them on the beach. No idea what they are, but I love them. My child also is weirdly, is that weird for a 2-year-old? Very much obsessed with puddles, very much so. So he was soaking wet. He needed all new clothes, lots of towels on the way home. It was kind of a nightmare. It was just a nice couple-hour drive to reset and kind of center, ground myself again before we moved on to the rest of the year. And good thing, because we had another vet appointment scheduled, this time for my dog, Daisy. Unfortunately, with corgis, ulcers are fairly common in the eyeballs, and that's what she had. It was great. She was squinting a little bit, had some eye drainage going on, and I thought maybe I could see the beginning stages of an ulcer, so we went into the vet, and sure enough, there was an ulcer. Some ulcers you can only see through a fluorescein stain test, which is just kind of a fluorescent green dye that they put in their eyeball for you to be able to really see where that ulcer is. So we made sure to get her into this appointment, and the medication that they gave us, the eye drops, were doing phenomenal for her. She was making so many huge strides forward. The eye was finally getting to a point that it wasn't really draining. She looked like she can hold it open really well, and maybe a tinge left of that ulcer, but nothing really much left. So we go in for the recheck, and the vet says,
I think it's not healing as fast as I would like. Why don't we do a debridement?
Now, I don't necessarily have an issue with the debriding in the first place. The issue that I had is it was not communicated to us that by doing this debridement, it could A, potentially make her eye worse, B, only had a 60% chance of working, and C, this new medication that they gave to her did not go over well. It got to a point with this eye ointment that her eye was looking really dry, it was really cloudy. I was getting to a point that I was worried for her vision. My husband and I made the joint decision to switch back to the old medication that we knew was working for her. And luckily, that started to heal things up very, very quickly. And as of now, she has no more eye issues. Thank God, knock on all the wood things, because I can't, no more. Now, sometime in September, Penny had this odd swelling in both of her back legs that resolved on its own after quite a bit of cold hosing from me, using some liniment and a little bit of poultice. And that swelling all went away, but then she was moving just a little bit odd, just enough that I was like, I don't love this. You're only 3. Let's get you in for another vet appointment and see if we can figure out what's going on. So we scheduled a appointment with a different vet, and I'm glad we did, because we ended up doing more x-rays, which kill me now. They are so expensive, but I got to see some x-rays of her hocks, which showed that she was about 80% of the way completing her growing process with those growth plates, which is something I was super concerned about before riding her. And that was where my vet was first concerned, is making sure that because she's a Mustang, we want to make sure that she's got good hock growth, that she doesn't have any sort of genetic deformities that are going on within her hocks. So we saw no issues there, so we decided to move on to her feet. Now, when we first did x-rays with the previous vet, we did a forward shot and then tipping the foot up and looking this way, I think. We did 2 different angles, but we did not do lateral x-rays. As far as I remember, I really don't think we did. Looking back now that I know what I know, I kind of wish we did, because come to find out, she also has negative palmar angles, so it changes the way those bones are sitting in her foot. That can also cause lameness issues. So now it's to a point of, okay, was the lameness issues coming from the side bone? Was the lameness issues coming from walking on gravel? Was the lameness issues coming from this negative palmar angle? So we had all these kind of things that were going on, and decided to do a wedge and a wedge shoe to increase the angle in her foot to lift it up a little bit more. This being said, she also still needs clips in these shoes, and unfortunately they need to be fairly tall. So the shoes that my farrier is working with, he's having to do a lot of adjustments again to try to pull those clips all the way up. Just recently, Penny also took her shoe off again. This time I can't even find the shoe because the ground's so frozen. So I got nothing on that one. This vet appointment, we also treated the proud flesh, saw a massive difference in it, even with just Manuka honey, which is crazy that just doing honey and bandaging can help something like that. But it's adding all of that extra sugar to that wound helped it start to heal very, very quickly. My vet was out of stock, but she gave me a prescription on that coming Monday that we've been using since, and the wound is pretty much healed up at this point. It's looking fantastic. November was another big positive month for the most part. The first thing being Arcane Season 2 came out, and I am an absolute fanatic for Arcane. I've played League of Legends a couple of times. It's not really my jam, but Arcane is a different story. The second season came out. I absolutely fell in love with the show all over again. I've now rewatched it a couple of times, and I just love that show. So any of you that have seen it, please drop a comment down below and let me know who's your favorite character. I'm very torn. I love Mel. I love Echo. Vi obviously is awesome. Jinx, Powder, breaks my freaking heart every time. Isha, love. If you know, you know. And then as far as a horsey focus, I actually put the first few rides on Penny, which was so exciting and such a good experience for both of us. It's been a while, especially since I've started a horse completely on my own. So it was huge to be able to have such a positive experience. And a lot of it I'm using I'll say mostly positive reinforcement principles, and I say that for a reason. I'll get into it in another video, but we're doing a lot of positive reinforcement with riding. I also decided to get back into coaching, and it is one of the most gratifying feelings to see the kids that I work with have success in their riding. It's just so, I don't even know how to explain it because it just lights me up. It really is one of the things that just fires my soul to see kids be successful with their horses. And lastly, in November, this is when I've started to make plans with adenomyosis. And unfortunately, adenomyosis doesn't really have a cure. The real cure for it is a hysterectomy. It's to take everything out. There's not really a solution otherwise. So unfortunately, with the level of pain that I'm in, we are deciding what steps that we're gonna take at this point. Now after that downer, we are in December now. I'm filming this in a little bit of early December. So this is all kind of a little bit future tense for me, past tense for you guys. We are spending Christmas in Long Beach, and I'll put some footage up because I always have such a great time in Long Beach. Keep in mind, this is Long Beach, Washington, and not California. Everyone always says, oh my God, you're going to Long Beach. It's gonna be so fun. Yes, but it's not warm. So it's gonna be very cold. But we get to do clamming, which is one of my favorite things to do when we go to that beach. I'm pretty sure we'll only get like 1, maybe 2 days of it, but in any case, we haven't done it in a few years, so I'm jazzed to be able to do it again. I'm so excited. There's also plenty of just fun things that we do with our family, whether it's game nights or going out on adventures. Garrett and I are gonna go try one of the places that I think has whiskey barrels. So we're gonna go try that out, go try out some fun whiskey. And then a couple of things that happened throughout the year that I didn't really have a timeline for. I crocheted a lot this year. So I have quite a few projects that I've worked on that I am so proud of. A lot of things that are new to me that all turned out pretty dang well. It's just something that I really enjoy doing when I have a little bit of downtime. What is downtime? I don't know. I'll just fill it with something. Another big thing this year has been huge in growth for spirituality and faith. I have found not necessarily religion to be a key thing for me, just growing a lot in my connection with God and universe and spirit and spirituality in itself, trying to find how this stuff all fits together. And I feel like that has been a huge aspect of growth this year. The beginning of the year, I read an absolute ton. I think I was reading almost every day, if not every day. It's definitely backed off. I feel like I got kind of into a little bit of a book hangover and cannot focus on anything. My husband is absolutely obsessed with Brandon Sanderson, and I have tried to get into the Stormlight Archive so many times. The first book is very hard for me to get into. I'm trying. If you're watching this, Garrett, believe in me, I will get there eventually. Last kind of note as far as this year, I have ridden Sage once this entire year. And a lot of that has to do with her navicular. I think she's got a lot of arthritic changes. She's turning 20 this year. So she's not super old, but she's definitely up there. And at this point with how she's moving, I just don't know that I feel comfortable with riding her. And she needs to be able to be retired or at least maintained through like groundwork. I just don't know that I feel comfortable riding her, which makes me so sad because we've spent a lot of years together, but I'm also trying to see the value in allowing her to just be a horse and have downtime. She did a lot for me growing up, and it's now time for me to give back to her. Now, plans for 2025, because this is how all of everyone's first years start. I really want to put more rides on Penny. I really would like to take her to some shows this year, get her out and about, get her lots of experience, and see where her development takes us. See how successful she can be with a continuous riding schedule, and if we can maintain the issues that she has now through things like regular shoeing and maintaining her exercise. Speaking of maintaining exercise, I'm also trying to prioritize my health this year, especially with all the changes going on with my own body. I really want to make sure that I'm prioritizing my diet and exercise, even to just be better for my horses and for my kid, because I'm tired of running up the stairs and being out of breath. And also just a lot of continued learning. I want to get back into reading, lots of listening to podcasts and watching videos, taking notes, and taking all these things and getting all of this learning and knowledge and then being able to compile it into something for myself to be able to reference in the future. I'm also really, cross your fingers, hoping to be able to compete in the Teens in Oregon Mustang Challenge this coming year. So make sure you guys stay tuned because that is the goal. So hopefully there will be a new Mustang coming up on the channel sometime soon. I've also really been enjoying coaching again, so I'm going to continue that through the rest of the year, especially up until the summer months, and then there's a break, and then probably continuing next year. Another big priority for me is spending more valuable time with my family. Taking time to really put my phone aside and not worry about other things that are going on and really get myself present in the moment with my husband and my kiddo. Lastly, I want to be consistent uploading to YouTube. That being said, I have scripts up until June for videos. So hopefully, knock on wood, cross your fingers, do all the hard work, and we're gonna have consistent videos every week for you guys. So make sure you stay tuned. This year is gonna be a big one, and I'm just so ready for the transformation part of it. I need something to change. And after the year that we've had, I'm so ready for 2025 to be a good one. That all being said, I hope you guys enjoyed the update. Sorry, it had been a while. I took a much needed break to recoup everything physically, mentally, emotionally. Ponies, dogs, child, husband, health, everything. So thank you guys for being patient. I hope you enjoyed the video. Feel free to comment down below what were some highlights of your 2024 and what are you looking forward to in 2025. I would love to read all of your comments and stories down below. If you liked the video, don't forget to like, subscribe, ding the notification bell, do all the things, and I will see you in the next video. Bye guys.